Sometimes, life brings together two people who were never meant to cross paths. A millionaire who had everything and a cowboy who had almost nothing. But on one unforgettable night, on a lonely mountain road in Wyoming, their worlds collided in a way neither man could have predicted. And in that moment, when the storm raged, the ground shook, and fear clawed at their hearts, the millionaire shouted words he never imagined would leave his lips: "Don't let go of my hand." What happened next changed both their lives forever. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment to support the channel Kindness World. Your engagement helps us keep sharing powerful, emotional stories that spread hope, love, and kindness around the world. The story starts with Ethan Walker, a wealthy tech investor from Los Angeles. He was the kind of man people described as untouchable. Everything about his life was polished: his suits, his home, his schedule. But inside, Ethan lived with a quiet emptiness he could never quite explain. He had money, status, influence, but not connection. Not real friends. Not trust. Not the kind of bond you can feel in your bones. One snowy weekend, he traveled to Wyoming for a rare break, a solo trip meant to clear his mind. His assistant had warned him, the weather can shift fast out there. But Ethan brushed it off. He wasn't used to being told what he couldn't handle. Meanwhile, miles away, Jake Sullivan was finishing a long day on his small family ranch. Jake was a simple cowboy, big-hearted, loyal, and the kind of man who would give his last dollar to a stranger. Life wasn't easy for him. The ranch was struggling, the bills kept climbing, and he was caring for his late brother's son. But Jake never complained. He believed kindness was something you give, even when life doesn't give much back. That night, the wind howled across the plains, bringing with it a brutal storm. Snow fell thick and fast, swallowing the road. Ethan didn't see the patch of ice until it was too late. His SUV slid, skidded, and then tumbled off the side of a narrow mountain bend. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. The world flipped. Then everything went silent. Ethan woke upside down, trapped by the seatbelt. His head throbbed. Panic swelled in his chest. His phone had no service, and the temperature was dropping fast. He shouted for help, though he knew no one could hear. Except someone did. Jake, on his way home, saw the fresh tire marks slicing off the road. He slammed on the brakes, jumped from his truck, and grabbed his flashlight. His boots crunched through deep snow as he yelled, "Hey! Anyone down there?" A faint voice answered, trembling and broken. Jake climbed down the embankment, fighting the wind, until the beam of his flashlight landed on the overturned SUV. When he reached the driver's window, Ethan could barely speak. Jake wasted no time. "Stay with me," he said firmly. "I'm gonna get you out." Jake broke the remaining glass, crawled halfway into the crushed frame, and unbuckled Ethan. But when the two men tried to climb up the embankment, the snow beneath them crumbled. The wind pushed hard enough to knock a man off balance. Ethan slipped, and Jake grabbed his hand instantly. That was the moment, heart pounding, fear burning through the cold, when Ethan shouted, "Don't let go of my hand." Jake planted his boots deeper in the snow and pulled with everything he had. "I'm not letting go. You hear me? I got you." Slowly, painfully, he hauled Ethan up the steep slope, step after step, until they reached the road again. Ethan collapsed on the ground, shaking uncontrollably. Jake wrapped his own jacket around him without hesitation. "Stay awake," he urged. "We're getting you warm." Jake helped Ethan into his truck, turned the heater on full blast, and drove him to the ranch, the nearest safe place. Inside, the fire crackled. Jake handed him blankets, hot soup, and water. Ethan watched him with disbelief. No one in his life had ever treated him with this kind of simple, honest care. "Why are you helping me?" Ethan finally asked, voice rough. Jake shrugged. Because you needed help. Ethan stared at him, stunned. No conditions. No expectations. No price tag. As the storm raged outside, the two men talked. About life. About struggles. About fears they never admitted to anyone else. Ethan confessed that despite all his wealth, he felt alone. Jake shared how hard it was raising his nephew and trying to save the ranch on his own. Something shifted between them, two strangers finding unexpected understanding. By morning, the storm had passed, but something in Ethan refused to leave. He stayed to help Jake feed the animals, repair a fence, and shovel snow. The millionaire who never got his hands dirty seemed almost free. A few days later, Ethan stood at the fence line, watching Jake work, and said quietly, "You saved my life." Jake chuckled. "You did most of the climbing." "No," Ethan said. "You saved more than my life. You saved something inside me." Jake looked at him curiously. Ethan hesitated, then continued, "I want to help your ranch. Your nephew. Whatever you need." Jake shook his head gently. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity," Ethan said. "It's kindness. The same kind you gave me." For the first time in a long time, Jake didn't argue. He simply nodded. Weeks later, Ethan returned with a plan, one that would turn the ranch into a sustainable business with new opportunities. Jake didn't just accept his help, he welcomed Ethan into his life. The bond they formed that night on the mountain became something deeper, something that looked like trust, gratitude, and second chances. Two men from different worlds discovering that kindness doesn't care about status, money, or background. It cares about heart. Years later, whenever Ethan visited Wyoming, Jake would tease, "Good thing you yelled for me that night." And Ethan would smile and answer, "Good thing you grabbed my hand." Because kindness, real, human kindness, has the power to pull us up from the darkest places, even when we least expect it. And sometimes, all it takes to change a life, is refusing to let go. If this story touched your heart, remember to spread kindness today. You never know whose life you might change with one simple act of care.